I'm happy to be joined today by Katelyn and Skip. The subject of today is cybersecurity and some of the opportunities that there are for men and women, but mostly women. So welcome, Skip. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm Skip Lawver, Professor Emeritus from Eastern Michigan University, and I started the cybersecurity program there in Digital Divas. First time out of the box when I started the cybersecurity program, I had 13 students, one of which was a woman. And from there, we realized we have to recruit more into this program.
Okay, and you, Katelyn?
Hi, Katelyn Coberley. I graduated from Eastern Michigan University in December of 2016 from Information Assurance and Cyber Defense. Program Skip helped start over there. I'm currently working in threat intelligence and cybersecurity. I actually started off in high school through Digital Divas, a program that Skip helped start, and that really got me interested in cybersecurity and technology as a field that I could actually see myself working in. So I kind of grew into my current profession.
Cybersecurity. So is that a very narrow field? Is it a broad field? Tell me a little bit about the opportunities and the career paths for cybersecurity for anyone who'd like to enter that.
Oh, it's a very broad field. And because of the number of companies and industries that don't realize they need it. And when you have so many countries that are hacking on our infrastructure, from sewage treatment to water treatment to manufacturing, SCADA systems, all of those that make our country infrastructure work, let alone the other manufacturing companies, there's a broad need. And it can't all be managed by men. So we need to recruit women because they come at it in a different perspective. You look at problem solving different than men do. You've been running households your entire life, in many instances, or going in that. So you approach the problem differently than men do.
What do you see? Are there a couple of qualities or a couple of areas where a women's lens helps a little bit more to round it out? Anything where it's really beneficial to be a woman, just by the way we think naturally?
Yeah, you're not so much reactive. You tend to think through a problem first and then solve it in a logical step-by-step procession versus going from 0 to 100 and okay, that's the fix, and the fix doesn't work, or it works short term. And some of these problems in cybersecurity require a full layout of things to do, the cyber intelligence, the threat assessment. Okay, we fixed it now, but oh my gosh, they're going to do that tomorrow. So this is where
it's that future planning.
It's future planning.
It's building out for the future and critically thinking it through from beginning to end before you start, so that way you don't have to go back. It's this concept of baking in cybersecurity to everything we do, instead of trying to tack it on as an afterthought. And I think from a female perspective and just kind of an everybody perspective, the more unique thoughts we have on how to solve a problem, the more we get past that planning stage initially, and we can actually get into the action stage. So it really helps to have everybody at the table to start with.
Where's some of the more unusual things where cybersecurity is important that we wouldn't normally think of right off the bat? Any industries that you've come across?
Well, personally, I've worked in healthcare from a hospital aspect. Cybersecurity is a big thing. Not many people think about how somebody could hack a heart and lung machine that while somebody's currently on the operating table. But if ransomware spreads throughout a building and encrypts devices and locks them up so people can't use them, that affects hospital devices as well, sometimes when they're in surgery. You're not necessarily, though you should be, on a separate network when those are running. So things can have greater impact than many people initially think. And also working in energy transmission and working on SCADA systems, working to kind of protect the energy grid of America, you really start thinking about who's targeting what. And not all the times is it directly the infrastructure itself, sometimes it's the people. Sometimes it's trying to hack an executive person's email account or their social media, deposes them internally, and then navigate to the system they actually want to attack. So there's a whole wide range of things that are being targeted and exploited, and it's up to us as cybersecurity professionals and the next generation of cybersecurity individuals to really start thinking about the different ways that we can protect ourselves.
If I can't compromise the system, I compromise the individual.
Exactly.
And then that's my gateway into the network and the system. So I may target you because your hardened security around your box is such, but you're vulnerable. And then I can look at your home because a lot of times you'll take stuff home and your home system's easy to crack. So I do that, or I just take the entire box and then have to work on it later on. Cars, vehicles, as we move towards the autonomous vehicle, can I hack into that system? Fuel systems are vulnerable, and Ford, I know for sure, spends a lot of money encrypting their fuel system. So that can't be hacked. Sewing machines come now with a chip. Your iron has a chip. Can I compromise that? Your teddy bear that you give your kid
Or your
has
refrigerator.
a chip.
Start thinking about the refrigerators with like essentially the screens on them to be able to see what's inside and be able to send updates to your phone. Well, that could be hijacked. Well, maybe you're out of milk and it sends an update to your phone, but it's a special kind of milk because you're allergic to something else. You can start building profiles off of people, off of very simple things that can be hijacked by somebody with an interest.
Wow, I never really thought of it that minutely. That's a little bit alarming. So, well, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, actually. But getting back to the field of cybersecurity, do I have to have a 4-year degree? Do I have a long ramp time to get into the field, into maybe an entry-level job if I'm looking, maybe I'm a single mom or I'm just someone that wants to enter the field, but I don't have 6 years to go to school and learn something completely new? What advice would you give someone? And I don't live in a big city like Chicago. Am I out, or can I still participate?
It's perfectly able to have anybody join in. Okay. Definitely that sort of mentality of anybody can do it. Starting wherever you're at. I grew up in a rural town. I lived on a dirt road, and now I now work in a city. But I started technology and cybersecurity from that background. As somebody who grew up thinking they were going to be an English major, and I turned out to actually work in cyber defense now, it really was a path that I took. Anybody can start learning, whether it's from YouTube videos, whether it's from books, whether it's just from talking to people, and start gathering that interest and that passion and that curiosity. You don't have to have a degree in this field in order to get a job, and many people I know don't. They do programs, they do certification courses, they're just always learning. And that's really the biggest part about cybersecurity is things are always changing, they're always adapting, they're always evolving, they're getting better. Technology increases at an incredible rate these days. And computer chips keep getting smaller and we keep having more storage to do more things. So we need people with that kind of aptitude to be able to go out there and get that learning and try to develop those concepts. And you can work from home. You can work in an office, you can work out in the field. There's so many different ways you can take cybersecurity and just go anywhere with it physically and then also career-wise that I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to do cybersecurity at this point. You can make great money doing it too. It's really an awesome field to start in, even if you don't choose to pursue a career in it. It's a good thing to have in your back pocket in today's world in 2020.
I could send you to community college. You could learn about a network in a semester. I can send you into Python and play games, and that's basic programming. I have a degree in phys ed, special education, and educational leadership. I have not taken one computer class. It's all been self-taught. Wow. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying it's the arena I grew up in. My first computer was in '87, and I had, floppy disks. That's where I started, and then grew from there. But it's been a labor of challenge and love, and not to be afraid of someone that knows more than you. Right. Because if I can't learn from you, then I got to go someplace else. Right, right. Did you see that the women in your classes, were they eager to ask questions, or did they kind of defer to the men to ask questions? Or my worst nightmare is having the first two females sitting side by side in the front row, and I knew I was in for it because they would ask very good questions. Really? And the guys sometimes would sit back because they didn't want to be embarrassed. Well, these young ladies decided no, and they were one of my first two picks for Digital Divas to help me develop this because they weren't afraid. They were secure. They were mothers with children. They're in their mid-20s, 30s, and they were making a career change and doing something. And both of them now are gainfully employed in the cyber arena. Sure. So it's never too old to make a career shift, career change, and come on board with this. It's a lot easier if you're younger. Sure. But it's not impossible if you want to make a shift. They knew there's so many online classes that you could do also that you're foolish not to. Right. Just picking up your son or daughter's phone and trying to program it so that you know what's going on, or your own phone. That's a whole nother story. Yeah, isn't that the truth? That's a whole nother story. So what would you say, where would a woman go, or what would you say to anybody who's interested but still doubtful? We all get very doubtful on ourselves saying, okay, it's great for her because she's a whiz, she's a science whiz, she's a math whiz, but I probably am not qualified to go down this road. What would you say to encourage that person to step up? I would definitely get involved in a community, whether that's a physical community or an online community. I actually use Twitter a lot in cybersecurity. There's a lot of different groups and
collections of people that seek to help mentor others. There's a Mentoring Monday hashtag, actually, that a lot of people use that's actually driven by a women in cybersecurity group.
Okay.
And they seek to match people, they don't have to just be females either, really just anybody with somebody in an interest field and say, hey, look, you can do this. I'm willing to be somebody that you specifically can ask questions for in this. Or maybe there's multiple people we can connect you with in order to build that little network of you to ask, hey, well, what does this mean? Or I keep getting this error. I don't know why I keep getting this error. I'm doing everything right. And then just kind of teasing at it and building out the solution to problems. Like Skip was mentioning, there's free online classes and there's free resources available through a variety of sources. Sometimes just typing cybersecurity near me or cybersecurity learning courses. It doesn't all have to be coding. It doesn't all have to be learning a programming language, although it definitely does help when you start digging into it. It can just be something as simple as learning how things work with security in mind. Thinking about how information is transferred, how people are communicating, and can I get in on that? Can I be that person in the middle that's listening to that conversation? And that starts to develop hacking techniques and figuring out like, okay, well, is that legal? What if I don't want people listening to both ends of my conversation? And how can I protect that? So it kind of leads into a whole bunch of different areas in cybersecurity that you can develop on your own at home whenever you want.
So curiosity is one of the main ingredients you have to have.
Definitely.
Don't go on a hacking site and ask to join because you will get hacked.
Yeah.
Right away. They will hack you.
Okay.
But from a community college standpoint, because of everybody's looking at economics, Henry Ford has an excellent program. Washtenaw Community College has an excellent program. Baker Community College has an excellent program. And then if the student wants to go forward, look for centers of academic excellence that are sponsored, because our coursework all has to be passed by a set of reviewers. And that's really important because when you go for a job interview, well, I graduated from here and that's a center of academic excellence. Those credentials mean something to your employer. And you do learn a lot and you network both locally as well as nationally, and in some cases international.
Yeah, and building projects at home too. I know one of the first things I did out of college right before I got a job was I tried to build a website and secure it myself, and then I asked some of my friends to try and hack it to see if they could get in. And that was a really good, and I trusted them too. Like they would actually tell me if they found something, so that helps too. But creating an environment where you can learn and you can build something really does help. It helps on a resume. It helps when talking to people getting into the field. Like, I tried this, and what are your thoughts on it? Just kind of like building that curiosity and that confidence through little things can really grow into something great.
Sounds like it's a limitless field if you just have the time and the curiosity.
Oh, yeah. It really
Definitely.
is.
Great. Great. Well, thank you for giving me just a little window into cybersecurity and the fact that women should actually kind of take a look at that and take a second look at that and see if it's for them.
And the trouble is we didn't even scratch the surface.
That's true. Next time.
Next
we will.
time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.